Morning, guys.
Mornings. Very warm welcome.
Morning. Thank you very much. Already day 3. So it's amazing, eh?
Yeah, I was so ambitious yesterday evening. I said to my wife, "We are almost half now." She said, "No, you're only on day 2."
only Wednesday afternoon. But for you, it must feel like a marathon.
Yeah, but this marathon is not drying you out from a water perspective. It's actually very mind stimulating, in my opinion. I think that the sessions we had so far has been for me very educational, and I think it's been wonderful, to be honest. So
I agree. I fully agree. Yeah.
And I think it's choosing. I'm so glad I didn't have to pick and choose which one I can sit in on. I said to Morten, it's great because I could have sit in on everyone. But interesting.
I'm afraid I will have a few evenings with replays and watching things back because it's so much, and all of it is very interesting. So I'm sure many people will do the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I hope so. We got a lot of good appreciation so far. So we are, that fuels the big work of setting up things like that. But that's not important about us. I will start with you, Patrick. You are working for Screen Europe in the DACH region, German-speaking countries, right? We're going to see a film from one of your customer, MediaPrint, in a second. Please introduce yourself a little bit, and then also tell me about you. I take that you were involved in that process of getting the 2-press into MediaPrint, right?
Yeah, well, to my person, pretty much, years back, I studied printing technology, so my heart is beating for print from day one. Also, my father was in printing business, so it's kind of a family thing, and so I learned basically the offset printing technology, and but moved then to Miller Martini for a while to learn about the very complex finishing part, which is very important in printing. And after that, I experienced as well some pre-press and workflow teams while I worked at ACFA. And then still my heart was beating too much for print, so I went back to print, but I thought, well, what's the next epoch of offset printing? And 9 years ago, there was Screen, one of the only, not survivors, one of the suppliers who offered inkjet, high-speed inkjet. And I thought, this is definitely the way it goes in future for many of the offset companies. And so that's how I started roughly 9 years ago. And I got the possibility to build up the DACH region with POD projects and products for Screen at the time. And we started quite successful in the DACH region, especially in commercial printing. As you know, Screen is very well known in the graphics because of CPP technologies. So that was a good step to step into the commercial printing with high-speed inkjet at the time.
And your role in the film we're going to see with Tobias Caster from MediaPrint, I mean, were you involved in that actual sales process?
Yes, that was done with me, and we had the pleasure to do that together with Mr. Caster. He's a very visionary person.
Oh yeah, you will see that in the film too, right?
Yeah, and he had a great plan, his vision, and he wanted to realize it and find a solution for it. And so we came in contact with each other, and we did work out this project successfully.
Perfect. And Rob, the other Rob, sorry. Who are you, and how have you got involved with this crazy industry?
It is a crazy industry, but we all love it, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I have to admit now, I'm pretty much older than Patrick. I'm working for 20 years for Screen now, Screen Europe, in different roles. My current role is Business Director, High-Speed Inkjets for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. I have to admit, I'm in this industry for over 40 years now. I can imagine you don't think so, but it is 40 years.
Not at all. Not at all.
Thank you very much. I did start even in letterpress. So before I moved into offsets, I was at letterpress. Quickly moved into offset, do the work several years in print shops. Then I started working for Japanese press manufacturers like Komori and Ryobi. So Japanese press, and then moved over to screen. So I'm in this industry for all of my professional career. I'm pretty sure if you ask my family, they will say there's running ink in his veins instead of blood. But I think with this industry, when you move in, or you move out very quickly, or you stay for the rest of your life. I think that's happening with most of us. So that's a little about my my background.
Perfect. I think it's a wonderful introduction, and we got audience, and I think we're ready. I can't remember because I've been talking to so many people. Are we starting with the video from Media Print, or what do you think we should do?
Well, we could do that. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Why not? I mean, this is I know that we have all prepared, but it sounds so nice when it's sounds like improvising, right?
Absolutely. No, it's fine.
Okay, let's turn off our own audio and video, and let's see this little 5 minutes video.
MediaPrint is a company with two business units. One is publishing and one is printing. All in all, we have about 350 employees, turn around about 50 million euros. I've learned two things. One thing is that many equipment in digital printing concerning press and post-press is more or less beta. So it's not that high developed or long developed as for example, print presses from Heidelberg or Königsbauer. So you have to start at a lower level in engineering. So you are part of that process of creating that business. The same are the manufacturers. So that is one thing. The second thing is that it's an IT business. So the machines are not the relevant part. The relevant part are the workflow systems and the enterprise resource planning systems. The requirement is this. The part of the book with a lot of pages. So the inside of the book is printed, or the right technology is inkjet. So we make a market analysis and which technology will fit that demand. We need the right technique for high print runs. Not in part of books, but in part of pages. We need it in a 24/7 business, and not in a production that have time for weeks, but only maybe one night. So it must be fast and it must have good quality. And I don't want to talk with customers about paper or stuff like this. They should get the right paper or the same paper they need for or they use for their offset print run as well. So that was kind of our demand matrix, and that's why we used at the end we came to screen, and because they fit the best. It's a true press, yes. It's a 4-color press, 4/4. What we like about at that machine is that we can use the same paper that we use in offset, so it's standard paper. The screen doesn't need any primer. So we thought, which result will our customers love? And I think we came from the offset part and we said, okay, the screen has a perfect result when we compare it to offset quality. Yeah, to be honest, the screen press is one of the machines that really have quite a good level of engineering. It's just the facility in general. We have a lot of manufacturers, of course, but the screen is running very well. We are quite satisfied with it. We are doing a 2-shift business at the moment, but I have no doubt that it will, the machine will fit with 3-shift business as well. Yeah, it's a combination of screen and Hunkeler, so both fit together very well. the biggest influence on cost is the ink itself, and we learned it by pain because in that moment where you print the higher density of color, maybe it's cheaper to the toner machines again. But most of our of the books have a good after calculation because ink density is not that high.
Not a bad testimonial, right?
Not at all. That's why I want to show it first. You're also very excited about the whole story. It's like Patrick already mentioned, he's a very visionary guy.
Actually, one of the things he said to me when I was doing the interview, and I apologize a little bit for the bad audio quality, but that is how when we do remote interviews, you know how it is these days, right? One of the things he said to me was actually that they as a company, Mediaprint, they've chosen often to fly a little below the radar because it's actually quite a big company. It's part of a publishing group where they have in total 350 people employed, and 180 of these people works in the print, as you also mentioned in the video. And I'm just wondering, is this a typical screen customer?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we have. If you look at the radar of our customers, it's pretty much one fits perfectly because all of our customers, they have the high demand of versatility of paper substrates, and many of the offset printers, they use 50 to 100 different paper types, and they don't want to have a compromise in printing in choosing specific inkjet papers, to supply to their customers. And this is why they target us pretty much as one of their, in evaluation. And that's one of the key reasons why we are so successful, I would say.
Because everybody wants that. I mean, perfect. That's perfect. No treated paper, no primer needed. Just, use your offset substrates. I mean, that's just the way to go. So excellent.
Mm. So you will do a presentation right now, right? So
no, not really.
Okay. How
just to match things up a little. No, not do presentation. Now we I think giving presentation, let's say like you normally do on exhibitions or open houses, I think this is not the right podium to do it. So I think we would like to discuss a little more about where we came from. Yes, what we have seen now in this video, I think is actually where we are today. This is the level we are playing, what we can produce. In the sessions yesterday from Carlo and Juan about labels and about packaging, we showed movies about Screen as a company. Probably we don't have to do it here for this audience because I think they know Screen very well. But I like to stress a little, or explain a little where we came from. I mentioned earlier that I joined Screen 20 years ago. When I joined Screen, it was helping developing the second generation of DI presses. Maybe you remember that time we had the Presstech DI, the Ryobi DI, the Heidelberg DI, and Screen came to market with their DI press. I had to admit, when I joined Screen, I knew them very well for the pre-press section. I knew them for the scanners, the image setters, CTP, not for printing machines. That machine, however, was the first step into production printing. So, however, many of our customers did have proofing presses. Nobody had a production press from Screen. I remember one of my trips, I can't remember exactly which year it was. I think it was 2002 or 2003. When I was in Kyoto, they said, we'd like to show you something. And they brought me into a small room, and it was a secret room. And there was something printing. And they said, this is the rocket project. I said, wow, that sounds great. Rocket science, it's a rocket project. But that was the first step for inkjet printing. And one of the engineers who was designing the machine, he said, I'm 100% convinced this will be the future of inkjets. Well, you can imagine, with my offset background, I looked at the samples and I thought, I don't think so. I don't think so. But what they showed was simple samples, simple local, simple things. But they were convinced this is the future of inkjets. If somebody told me that time in 2003, and I have one example here, I know it doesn't look good on the screen, but just to give you an idea, if somebody told me that time that we were able to produce this type of work on standard offset printers in 2020, I would say, I don't think so. But it's happening. when we launched it, and I remember that very well, that was on IPEX 2006. We launched the machine, and well, you're a journalist, you know very well, you always have these press conferences, and the press conference was just started, and the first question from one of the journalists was, great, you're showing now an inkjet device. Who's building that for you? Who's building that for you? And I will never forget the look on the Japanese faces saying, what do you mean? That's also what they say. So, excuse me, what do you mean? Who's building this for you? And the journalist said, well, you are very well known for all your other equipment, but not for printing presses. So who's building this for you? And one of my Japanese colleagues replied in a way that I will never forget. He said, please realize that all the components together that we have made into this machine are basically very similar as what we do on imaging a laser dot on a plate. So the way you jet an inkjet droplet on a piece of paper, the accuracy that you need, all the type of things together is pretty similar. So yes, it's printing, and we have to learn, but this is very, very comparable. And that's how it started. So when we launched the machine at IPEX, we were all extremely excited. We were all, between all our CTPs, other devices, we suddenly have this device. And you can imagine on the first day, already on the first hour, we had all our competitors, our new competitors, on the booth, looking at it, giving comments and saying, this is fantastic, this is great. So during the show, we even get more upbeat and say, this is absolutely, we have something here. We absolutely have something here. But we have to be realistic. That time, our customers were the conventional printers. So they came to the booth, and we all were very excited to this new inkjet device. And they said, yes, nice, but what can I do with it? This is not for something for my business. So you can imagine that on the one hand, we were extremely excited to have this new device and have the future. And on the other hand, we had struggled to find the market. The good thing that time is, and I'm not going too much in detail, but the good thing that was that one of the players in the market, Infoprint, had a huge installed base of black and white printers, and they were desperate to have a color device. So 1 and 1 is 2. So we teamed up together and started working from there. So this is a little about, let's say, the history, and there's a big gap in between, and we can discuss those things. But this is where we came from, and what Patrick just explained, and Tobias explained very well. This is where we are today.
I can't help think about why we at these things, because I mean, one of the things that we tend to forget is always how fast time flies by and the changes that we see. I did an interview with Joe from Screen Kyoto last year. Yeah, precisely when I was at the ThinkSmart factory where you also participated. And one of the things that he said was actually that Screen is picking the right print heads and the right inks for the right kind of machineries, depending on the applications that you're using. So if you look, obviously it to me, obviously, maybe not to everybody, but to me, it sounds like that it's a fast forward opportunity if you want to go to market. Is that still the philosophy? Because yesterday, for example, Johan, he said that on the PAC 830F, you cannot disclaim who is actually delivering the print heads. I mean, so what has changed?
Yeah, well, I think what Joe rightly explained was that if you look, and maybe we should play one of the videos later on, which explain a little more about Screen as a company. We are a technical company. We are a typical Japanese technical company. So many people that have screen equipment in the graphic arts industry, if we show the video, they have no clue what we're doing in other places, in other types of markets. So the video itself is great. It's 8 minutes. It's too long to show here, but we are in many, many play fields. Over the years, we got the question, I will say on a weekly basis, if you have all this clever technology, you are in the semiconductors, you're in all type of things, you easily should be able to produce your own heads, which is true. I'm pretty sure that if we decide to want to develop our own heads, we can do that. The thing is, and that's also I think what Joe rightly explained, if you develop your own heads, you basically have no other choice than using your own heads.
Yeah, precisely.
And that is something that we try to avoid. So what Joe explained was, when we think about new technology, we can pick up the components we think is best. We will always build the machine. It always should be screen standard. So the biggest part of the machines is designed, developed, produced by Screen, always, not anywhere else. But the components you can choose. So if you look at...
But I have a question then, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's just because, and I think that maybe some of the audience share my thinking here, is that if you pick standard components from off the shelf, so to speak, vendors. I mean, because what I like about Screen, and also what Tobias Carse says about Screen, is that you have, as Gene also stated, is you don't have any primers. You can print on literally all kind of paper-based substrates and all these kind of things. But if this is just off-the-shelf components, why not everybody? I mean, you must add some secret sauce to it, right? Yeah,
absolutely. Maybe I explained it in a too simple way. No. Of course, it is not like we're picking things up from the shelf. We have philosophy behind, let's say, I can't find the right word now, but if you have a special application, like Juan explained yesterday, a complete new application. So we look what is needed for that. And then there are two options. Or you select, let's say, an existing component, or you start talking with manufacturers who are specialized and say, this is what we want. Pretty often people say, yeah, but you can choose any ink that you want. And no, that's not true. Especially in inkjet. I would say in offset, basically, you can use every ink that you want. And of course, every ink manufacturer will say, we have special components and special. But in reality, offset ink is offset ink. With an inkjet head, you have to deal with viscosity, with chemistry, with speed, with wave data. There are many, many things involved. So just picking up a head is not enough. You have to create the same wave, the right wave data. Even when you have same heads in machines with different wave data, you can have different results. We are well known for our screening. We are well known for our color management. That type of things are all included. So what we mean with that is, if we are thinking about a new development, you have to find the right components, and then we don't want to be too blinkered in we have to use our own solution. You just mentioned earlier, both of you, using primer or not. That's also a decision. You can imagine during development stage, that's a very, very important decision to make. Are we going to use a primer or not? So the most easy way is to say, yes, we're going to use a primer. That's the most safe way. But we learned in the meanwhile that, let's go a little back. When we go back to 2006 and launching the first TruePress machines, we learned pretty quickly that it was great for uncoated papers. When we would like to do a little more, it was not possible. So the first thing was, we need also a reaction from the paper industry. So companies like Ziegler at that time and Mondi developed very quick a paper that was giving a broader range of applications. Then, and probably you all remember, CVG brought silk to the market. When CVC silk came to the market, suddenly people said, this is great, this is, but still, it was not offset paper. The biggest hurdle, really the biggest hurdle for all suppliers was, people want to print on offset papers. And sometimes we were discussing with printers. We walked into a printer, showed a sample, say, what do you think? It's great. And the customer said, I like the quality. I'm 100% convinced about the quality. But you use a different paper, and I'm not buying the paper. The publisher is providing the paper. So please try to convince the publisher.
So go back.
Exactly, go back. That was absolutely the right description. That's what we heard many, many times. Nice guys, but as long as you can't print on offset papers, forget it. Then coming back on the primer thing, thinking about primer, we thought it is probably the fastest way to bring something to the market, for sure. But this is also not what printers want in the end, because from our point of view, you're bringing a lot of water into the paper. You have to dry it immediately, then you print on it. So it is difficult for the paper. In the meanwhile, we saw competitors having these systems into the market, and we heard more and more stories from people say, it is not as easy as we thought, or the power consumption is extremely high. So we thought the only way forward is thinking about a solution to print direct on paper. And that was not easy, first of all, because we were waiting for a device. Our customers, in the meanwhile, were our competitors in the meanwhile, some of them brought systems to the market with primer, and we were waiting. We needed to have an answer. And Japan said, be a little patient.
But I
we
can't
will have
help.
a solution.
But I can't help think about that. I mean, you said that maybe the primers are a faster way to market, but I think it's maybe faster also in the sense that people sometimes also always demand the fastest presses. So so it's a combination, as Elizabeth Gooding said in her session Monday. There is some physical to the fact that when you use water-based inks on paper. I mean, the water, we need to vaporize it or get it off the paper as fast as possible. And we need to make that, because, I mean, the generation of printers that we see today have a certain speed, and it's still fast, but it's not as fast as a offset printing machine, for example, right? So when we are in this gap between analog equipment and digital equipment, do you think that you also have some solutions that can actually bridge on that part as well?
Yeah, I think this is still a technology that is in development. It is absolutely not early days, because inkjet is here for a long time. It is already here for something like 80 years. It's now adding, let's say, probably the last bastion, so the commercial print. So what we see, and I think Patrick can comment on that also, that in the beginning, when we sold devices, it was always roll to roll. That was it, roll to roll. And some people had it in going to a cut sheet device. Nowadays, it goes into a complete finishing line. So book of one, book of many, it all needs to be possible. So adding equipment like remostering units, we see more and more. So we still have to keep in mind that the papers that we're able to use without any special prime or whatever are basically never been designed to use in water-based offsets. And they are designed to use on ink. So yes, you have to find sometimes. But Patrick, I think if you look at your customers, many of them now are doing online finishing, inline finishing, nearline finishing.
Yes, because this is one of the crucial points for inkjet, right? Or digital printing. I mean, the world is changing through internet. It means there needs to be transparency. It needs to be faster supply chain. That means they need agility. They need faster time from order to delivery. So the whole process is the key. It's not only the printing part which is the key, and so that's also what we might show in some slides afterwards with another customer from Germany, who is pointing out this as a huge advantage, that you basically have a huge time saving in the whole production process from order to delivery.
Well, it's cutting out so many processes, isn't it? I mean, that's the big key with it. It's cutting out the processes.
Yeah, you eliminate the pre-press and you eliminate some of the finishing parts in it, and that's the key also, right?
So obviously, because you can print on any substrate, even coated substrates, then I mean, you must have loads of dryers inside the press for it to come off ready to finish, or is there slower speed for drying when it comes to higher ink jobs, where there's higher percentage of ink on a page?
Yes, of course. It's easy to say that you can print on any speed with every density. This is not true. But in all fairness, when we discuss this with customers, in the end they say, well, that is not much different on our offset presses and other presses. So yes, if we have to print a very high coverage solids on the highest quality possible, we will not print at, let's say, 150 meters a minute. We will slow down to 100 meters a minute or 75 meters a minute. Yeah, and of course, also when you do inline finishing, that also has impact on that. So yes, it will be nonsense to say you can print at any speeds. What we do have, which is important, and it also go back to the early days of color management, we are using, let's say, technologies like UCR. So you're reducing the amount of ink, the way, the size of the droplets, all those type of things have impact. So what we see is basically not different when you have a new offset press. You try to find what is possible, what is not possible. Sometimes a paper is, like I said earlier, the papers we can print on are standard offset papers, but some papers reacting better than the other. However, they both could be a glossy paper, and some, let's say, chemistry guys will say, well, we use a little more clay here or a little different chemistry. That is something you learn very quick. So yes, speed is extremely important, but you can imagine when you do a book of 1, a book of 10, speed in printing is not important, and so then it is in the finishing. So it is the flexibility that inkjet is offering is huge, and that is why people, especially our commercial printers, are looking into it. So I know you visiting, for example, Hunkler Innovation Days. Till a few years ago, there were no offset printers. There were other people from other industry, and suddenly you saw some offset printers entering, say, "Well, I'm here to look around the riddle." And I remember many funny conversations when people say, "Well, I'm here to learn about digital." And then always my question was, "That's interesting. Could you please give me your definition of digital?" You got the most funny, great answers. So in the end, I think the last 2 innovation days, people came to the show say, "We are here, of course, to see the Hunkler equipments, but we're here to look at inkjet. It's not about another technology. It is pretty simple. We're here to look into inkjet, to learn about inkjet, and to see what is possible." And so again, printing now on all types of offset papers was the last hurdle. So that absolutely was.
So let's move into some of the hurdles, Patrick, because this week we decided to have, all our webinars we call Learn With Us, because we believe that the learning experience is the most important part of actually getting to the stage where you can buy, right? Of course, I also understand that when vendors are participating, they of course wants to have leads and also educate their potential customers so it can lead into a selling process. And I was just wondering, before we talk about the solutions, Patrick, when you meet people in the market, what kind of obstacles do you see? I mean, what is it typically a commercial printer would say the reason why they don't want to invest in a screen printer?
Why they're not investing?
Yeah, because I'm trying to. Let's say that we have 8,000 printing companies in the DACH region, right? And I take that you have not sold to all of them yet. So not yet. So I would assume that there's some obstacles, because I mean, if Heidelberg comes in and say they want to sell a machine, everybody knows what a Heidelberg is, and they know what to expect from a litho press, right? Yes. So when you get into that same position, they say, okay, screen, what is that? Okay, we know you from the plates, we know you from being well established in the market, but then they might say, well, roll-based, that is not us, or inkjet hasn't the same quality as we used to, or the speed is an obstacle. I mean, so that number of obstacles in order to get that message across to potential customers. Mm-hmm. What kind of excuses do you hear?
Well, I think it's first of all, you have to differentiate also a little bit on the markets where you try to sell it. There is different quality demands, definitely. And but in my market, well, in the German-speaking market, they have a very high demand on quality. Mm-hmm. So the quality is kind of a really tick mark. It's a must criteria, definitely, to me. This is nowadays, this is very fit in, right? The quality is to a point very equal to offset, sometimes even better, I have to say, because we print with a very little droplet size. In combination with our screening technology, we achieve extremely good quality. Some customers are very stunned if they see the quality and they say this is even proof quality, you know, and which is true. I mean, it's proving it's inkjet as well. And
absolutely. And I've heard a lot of customers actually comment about your quality being great, and these are strong litho printers. And we know that's our biggest competitors, litho. You know, that's who we're competing against with inkjet. So
I couldn't hear that. Can you say it again, please?
I was saying that when I see
serious, I'm kidding.
I know. I'm saying when I see them, they do. They want your product. Your quality is great. I think I'm on tape, so you can play the recording.
Okay, you shouldn't have said that, Gene. You shouldn't have said that. Now the Robs will actually put it in autoplay, just that sequence.
But it's true. So just on you spoke about the markets, and I know you speak about different regions and that, but if you look at your press as such, was it built to focus on going after publishing market, or a bit of commercial, a bit of everything? Where does your press, where's the sweet spot? Where does it fit in perfectly?
Well, but what we have experienced in the beginning, you know, from historically we came like the transactional market. So it moved from transactional towards direct mailing. and then from direct mailing towards book production, and from book production pretty much towards, let's say, commercial printing, like brochures, postcards, and stuff like that. And I think this is really much related to the quality needs, isn't it? So from transactional to mailing, where there's no highest demand, but nowadays we are on a stage where we fit in our technology also on high quality books. And that comes in that we also are now producing nice brochures and even postcards. So I think the key point really much is the quality. Then secondly, of course, there is this the demand from customers in general about the changes of the business. You know, they have to have they want to have a lean production. Lean production means they don't want to have an investment done for the next 20 years like they do in offset, if you buy an offset press. And so they want to have modular setup of their whole production. And this is a key where they then often open up their mind and say, yeah, you're right. I mean, that's the demand from the market and from our customers. We want the flexibility. And quality is then often moving away, really, because the quality is in printing. Every printer is focusing on quality, and that was how past work is. Because in the past you differentiated in a very competitive market only through quality as a printer. Nowadays you differentiate in terms of how automated is your production facility, how fast are you, how is your stock, paper stock management, and all those kind of things are highly rated, much more rated than before. Because the final customer usually was happy with, let's say, medium quality.
Exactly.
Stephen Wood is actually maybe elevating it to the point, and because since you won't, he will. The barriers to entry is typical the capital cost. Oh, silence. just say capital cost, and the vendors keep. But it is a barrier, right? And maybe it can be put in a very good context, because I think that the presses themselves may be not that expensive compared to other technologies. But I think that what a lot of commercial printers might think of is that, okay, the binding equipment, the finishing part, and all the things that we need, also the educational part, maybe even the workflow parts, all the things that you're making sure that everything connects and works. That is maybe something that is a barrier.
Yeah, I think. I think what also plays a role is from what is your background. For example, if you're, let's say, coming from a copier area, you are used to click charts and all type of things that conventional printers are not. So we, by the way, we sell our equipment comparable to like an offset press. We don't work with click charts. We don't think that model is working, but that's our philosophy. But coming back on the remark that G made, when you have an offset printer coming to a show and they want to buy a new offset press, they know exactly what they're going to buy. They look for a 4-color, 6-color convertible, coater or not. With this type of equipment, it's much more a learning curve. So they see this machine. And it's funny, it's also a comment that Tobias did made. It's robust as an offset press. Well, it is extremely robust, but we don't need these heavy plate cylinders, impression cylinders, rubber cylinders, 100 of grippers. It's different technology. Probably the biggest hurdle for them, also in the mindset, is finishing equipment. I have to buy this and this and this and this. At the same time, working from reels is in the end much easier and much more profitable than working with sheets. But it is something you have to develop together. Same comment is, oh, your ink is very expensive compared with offset ink. Yes, if you compare 100 kilogram, 400, yes, but the concept is completely different. So yes, it is a complete different story. And like I said, it depends what your background is. Offset printers have a different approach than people say, we're never buying equipment, releasing it. Yeah.
And I think you're cutting out so many processes with inkjet, and that has to become part of your total cost of ownership, and you have to look at cutting out all those processes over a period, and the investment pays for itself. So if you're looking box for box, and I'm investing in this with the finishing, but look at the business model, and you're saving.
Yeah, maybe this
Well,
maybe more to
it's
sorry,
often,
Patrick.
sorry. It's often like printers, they have this, currently they have the problems. They don't find any skilled printing operators anymore because it's not a trendy job, as you know. I mean, it's, there are much fancier jobs around for 20 years old guys than printer. And that's one of the points too, right? They go and say, we don't want to have, expensive workers on the machine. We want to have an independency also on the workforce on the machine. And that allows you inkjet, because basically all you need is an experienced person in the pre-press, but on the printing and finishing, you don't need the highly educated printer anymore. And
what are your thoughts on, you're talking about the experience that you need from people. What about salespeople? What about, because this is a very different sale to ink on paper.
Yes.
So, how, in your experience with putting your presses in, how have printers adjusted to that? Have they gone out to get a whole new sales force? What have they done?
Well, if you start from sales, it is. It's a lot of education needed. That's also how we supply them. In some of the customers, we supply with trainings, sales trainings on basically more digital affine sales than really static sales products. That's what we do. As well, we explain them how the workforce needs to be set up, and that means what I just explained, that then pre-press is, you need people who are very much IT affine, instead of, let's say, control a mechanical machine. So that's how we support our customers in recommending how they have to find their experienced people and for the future, yes. But this is also part of their change of the whole company setup then for the future. So that's why these projects often take quite some time to be realized. Yeah.
But Jean, I think you also meant that our clients, how they train their salespeople to.
Well, I guess it's, if you look at the business though, it is a whole different go-to-market strategy.
Absolutely.
And I think you need an inkjet plan of how you're going to take this product to market. So I was just interested to see how your customers are doing that.
Absolutely.
We have a few questions. Let's get to them so we don't miss them, right? The first one is Jamie Wall. She's asking, what are the main differentiators between the HD and NX products?
To keep it simple, the HD have the possibility to use the SC inks. So that's basically our standard inks nowadays. So the HD series are able to print on coated, uncoated offset stocks. The NX is more an entry level, more in transactional. That is basically the difference.
Okay. And we have also another question, which is also quite a good one. It says from Broad Geary from Monty. Finding the correct ink paper press combination will always be the number one topic, and working together products the best solutions. I think that's a good point, because also we spoke to Randy Vandegrift from Kodak yesterday, and as he said, it's not just a matter about the print heads and the waves and everything, the technologies and the all the things, the drawings. It's also a matter of getting the paper suppliers on board to deliver paper that have the capabilities of inkjet. Is it, in your opinion, Rob, is it difficult? I mean, if you are a commercial printer today and you have like a wide variety of paper stocks, is it difficult to find suitable? I mean, I take that even though you print on almost everything, there's quality differences in the paper based on, I mean, how it works. But is it difficult to find the right substrates for your printers today?
No, that's not difficult. First of all, we get so many, especially from commercial printers, when they come for a demonstration, they want to see, of course, our standard jobs, and they want to see their own jobs on their own paper. So we have a large library in the meanwhile with papers that can be used. I think where the question is coming from is in this case from Mondi, and they have specialized inkjet papers, inkjet treated papers.
We're talking to them tomorrow. They have a session about
absolutely. So with companies like Mondi, who are very much on the ball with inkjet papers and in inkjet industry in general, we will never say that we don't need any inkjet papers. So inkjet papers are specialized. So the prices for inkjet papers are also coming down. So that was also unheard of. People say we don't like have all these different papers, but also the inkjet papers are too expensive. That is all coming together. In the end, we're all in the same boat. We're all developing the same industry. So yes.
We have David Pomati. He's writing here. I noted a couple of points from the interview. Ink is the main cost item. AIM is working 24/7. Don't you see? I think that's a raised finger and a question, as OEM product optimization as a tool to increase equipment sale. For example, how do you see the auto splicers to automate the real exchange process? Does it make sense to you?
Yes. Patrick, you?
Well, I think that's pretty much a key topic, in inkjet to be fully automated, because this industry 4.0 demands are increasing, and that's a point we are handling with, and we're going to phase two. There are some solutions out in the market. That's something we are, of course, evaluating, and we'll do our developments in it.
Great. And Jamie Walsh has a follow-up on, I think he's also trying to be adding humor to the equation, as I just read. Educating the customer and holding their hands on the inkjet journey is vital. For many, it's still a new world to investigate and understand. You wouldn't just throw your 9 years old the Python scripting manual and expect results. You would hold their hand and educate them to share and knowledge, right? That is
absolutely. It's absolutely true. And let's say from day one, when we did enter this market, inkjet market, we worked very closely with paper manufacturers. We started working very closely with companies like Hunkler, Technow, Horizon, Mechanotechnica, name them all. Morten, you've been in Japan, you've seen this smart factory thing. So integration and automation is absolutely vital. It's key. And yes, you do a lot of hand holding on let's say for the technical people, for, like G mentioned, the commercial people. Yes, it is hand holding. On the other hand, it is developing so quick. I think if you take a look at offset technology, still when I see an offset press running 18 sheets an hour, 18,000 sheets an hour, my heart jumps up, because that's my background. But it took, let's say, offset about 100 years to come to the current level. You can't improve anymore. The automation is there, the technology is there, you can't improve. Some people say, well, inkjet is early days. That is not true. Inkjet is not early days. What we can do today is amazing, and it will develop. It will go faster, it will go wider, we will have more applications. Integration, innovation is key, but it goes extremely fast. I think if you said 2 years ago we were having 1 week session of inkjet, I think nobody would believe you. You would say we can fill maybe 1 or 2 days. I think if you would do a next week also on this topic, you could also fill next week. So yes, it's here, it's not going away, it will develop, but I would say don't wait too long by joining us.
And it's an exciting journey, isn't it? I mean, it's been life-changing for so many. So I think it's a fantastic journey.
Yep. So we haven't talked about any slides, but isn't it nice just to have a conversation from time to time?
Absolutely.
It is.
It should be nice to have somewhere on the bar with a cold beer, but this is also great. So.
No, you just sent the date and place, and I'm sure either Gino and I will be there.
Good.
So we have still a few minutes left before we're going into the next session. And just for the audience, the next session is a session with Sandra Hendricks and Chris Ait from Canon EMEA, and the subject is Transition Your Business with Inkjet. See,
did they watch our session or?
No, that could be. But what I was just about to say, Rob, is basically that what I like about this all these sessions, all of the education and learning we get from it actually complement each other very well, because there is one step when it comes to competition between what equipment to choose from, but there's also the entire business process of understanding the opportunities in the market, and that is a very good time right now to move into that part of it. So I want to thank you for being a very good support to this event, Screen as a company, and both of you. It has been wonderful, the conversation we had up to the session today, and I hope you have enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
100%.
And it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
It's been very open and honest, which I think is really appreciated. So that's great.
That's what we need. Right? That is what how we
fantastic.
drive this. Yep.
Wonderful.
That's how screen is. Yeah.
I have learned. I can tell you that when I did the interview with Joe in Kyoto, I don't know why, but I'm a little nervous sometimes when I talk to senior people, especially from Japan, because the culture is so different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I respect everybody, but it's just like when you have people that are in a society that is more in a hierarchy than it's in Europe anyway, right? It's something. So I was a little starstruck, and I actually turned out to be, in my opinion, a very wonderful conversation. And I will actually share that during the next couple of days again, because I resaw it a few days ago, and I thought that there's some good points in this.
It was nice.
Film. Yeah.
Yep.
So now we are connected. We didn't know each other before this Learn With Us session, but I have really enjoyed getting to know screen people, and I hope that we will do things together in the future as well.
For sure. Thanks a lot for this platform. We really enjoyed it, and
okay.
Thanks.
Good luck for the rest of the week.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.